I got hired to break into 3 banks in Jamaica. Just owned the whole thing. I got hired to break into a nuclear facility once. I was successful 6 times. The phone is a very, very powerful vector to get people to do things. Look at last year, MGM, major breach, that was done through the phone. The hotel was shut down for 9 days. They lost 190 million. We're seeing AI has taken the scam market and the threat actor market through the roof. And of course, crypto is a major part of that. The newest form of QR phishing is a big deal. Everything in social engineering starts with...
Meet Christopher Hadnagy, best-selling author and the world's top social engineering expert who's hacked Fortune 500 companies, governments, and even nuclear facilities to expose the human vulnerability. Now he's here to reveal why Bitcoin's biggest threat isn't tech, it's you and how to fight back like a pro. In this episode, Chris demonstrates powerful social engineering tactics with real-world stories.
So he takes me down the hallway, unbadges the door, and he goes, "Do I need to be here with you?" I'm like, no, you can go back to the desk. It's fine. You keep the bank secure. We'll be in here.
Outlines the latest explosion of deadly scams and how to defend yourself.
I saw an interesting report last year from the FBI that in their research on threat actors seen an 80% increase in spear phishing.
And how their tactics are now being used to rescue children around the world.
That guy got arrested. He'll be in prison for 150 years.
Plus, Chris shares some hilarious tales from when things went horribly wrong.
The door gets kicked open. 5 guys with AR-15s come out, slam us on the ground. "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, there's a letter in my pocket," right? I was just like, "Please don't shoot."
Chris, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Really excited to have this conversation. To kind of kick things off, you've hacked some of the largest companies in the world. Can you give us a story of maybe some of the wildest social engineering strategies, attempts, things that you've done that even like the most tech-savvy Bitcoiners have been fooled? And for anyone that might not be familiar, can you give us a brief outline of what social engineering is?
Sure. So social engineering well, I'll give you my definition, and then I'll tell you how it works in the business world, right? So I define social engineering as any act that influences a person to take an action that may or may not be in their best interest. And I use the broad general definition because I think it's not always negative. It can be used for positive, to influence people positively, or it can be used in malicious terms. From the question you asked me, then we use social engineering in a way to audit companies in order to test their human firewalls, right? So they're humans that work there. How susceptible are they to influence that can create a vulnerability within an organization? And we do this in a way where we don't want to shame people or create embarrassment, right? So we're not using pretexts that would be like flirtation or something embarrassing to them because we want them to be teachable. Now, the bad guys, they don't care. So they'll use anything. They'll use sexual pretext. They'll use something embarrassing, threats, violence. They'll use whatever. And we need to understand that so that way we can educate companies. But as a professional, we don't want to ever use those type of things to hurt people because we want to be the good guys always.
Beautiful. And so then can you take us through and give us a chance to kind of pull out some examples of the tactics and skills that were at play there? What's maybe like the wildest social engineering story that you have, either of yourself or a colleague or some member of the team?
Yeah, okay. Wildest. Let me see. There's quite a few. So I'm trying to think about... there was this time I got hired to break into 3 banks in Jamaica. And
okay.
Yeah, right. So me and my buddy, we get to Jamaica, and it hits me like we definitely stand out in this country. We are the wrong skin color, and there's very, very few white people there. So we had to come up with a pretext. Why are we going to be in this bank in broad daylight? And why does it matter, right? So we came up with a pretext that we were doing an IT audit for credit card transactions. So we were gonna be there finishing this audit. We had found on the web that they were actually conducting an audit with an American company in order to get approval for doing business in America. So we're like, perfect, this is great. So I had some shirts made with the logo on it. We had some clipboards. So we get to Jamaica. Our host, he drives us to the first bank across the street. We're just kind of doing a scope out, and no one told me that their security. So the bank is surrounded by a fence with barbed wire, and in the fence are young men with dirt bikes, helmets with like fangs drawn on them, and sawed-off shotguns. That's their security. And I'm like, wait, you didn't tell me this before we got here? Like, this is what we're breaking into? And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry. As long as you don't do anything, they're not gonna use the guns." And I'm like, what the heck? So So I tell my buddy Ryan, I'm like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We need a distraction, right? So we're gonna. I went up to a guy in the street, just walking down the street, and I said, "Hey, man, you want to make $20?" He said, "Sure. What do I got to do?" I said, "I want you to walk into the bank and just talk to the security guard about how you get a job at the bank." He's like, "I don't want to work there." I'm like, "Great. I just want you to just have a conversation." He's like, "What is this about?" I'm like, "We're just doing a test, you know." So I'm like, he's like, "Great." And here's $20. He walks in the bank. I said to my buddy, "Okay, just follow me." So he's having a conversation with the security guard. And we just walk in and I grab my cell phone and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, Frank, we're coming up right now." And I walk right through the metal detectors and we walk right past the guard. He hears me on the phone and we just walk up the stairs. Never even stops me. So we get upstairs. I've never even seen the inside of this bank, so I have no clue where we're going. So we get up the stairs and right to the right, there's a woman walking in front of us. And I'm like, let's just follow her. And she keys into this door. She walks in and the sign says ATM testing center. So we walk in and all these ATMs are there, just taken apart. They're doing parts and testing it. And she turns around, she goes, "Excuse me, you can't be in here." I said, "Oh, yeah, we're doing the PCI audit. Don't worry." And she's like, "Oh, okay." That was it. She lets me go. So I'm like, okay. So we walk around and we're taking pictures of the ATMs. We're plugging things into network sockets. We're just doing all this. And we were there maybe like 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, we got to get out of here. So we're like, okay, you guys pass. We're going to go down the hall. And we walk out and we see a sign that says the call center. So we start walking down the call center and the door is locked. We could see there's like an RFID thing. So I'm like, man, maybe somebody will come and would walk real slow. And as we get closer, I see a woman walking towards the door. So I speed up and she badges out and I hold the door open for her. "Oh, yeah, ladies first." And she's like, "Oh, thank you." And then we walk in, right? So we quickly scoot around the aisleway and we go down this one aisle and there's a woman sitting there on the phone and she's next to a computer that's on but logged out. So I say to her, "Hey, I need you to log into this computer." And she's like, "I need to log into this computer?" I said, "Yeah, we're doing an audit. I need you to log into this computer, please." And she's like, "Okay." And as she leans over to type her credentials in, I just hit record on my phone and I start recording her password, right? But now she logged in and she's like, "Okay, this is weird." I said, "No, no, we're just doing a quick audit." So Brian sits down and he starts hacking away at the computer, just like, hacking the whole network. And right behind me, there's a guy sitting on his computer, and he gets up to go use the bathroom, and he leaves his computer completely unlocked, his credentials there. So I go sit at his computer, and I start doing the same thing. 5 minutes later, this woman comes out. She's a manager. She's like, "Hey, I don't know how you guys are. Why are you guys here?" I said, "Oh, we're doing a PCI audit. We're just finishing up." She's like, "Okay," and she walks away. But we could tell like she was really thinking something. So a few minutes later, the main manager comes out, and she's like, "Who's your contact here?" And I said, "Oh, I forgot his name." And she's like, "No, you're not here unless you have a contact. Come with me." So she goes, takes me around. She goes, "We're going to security." So we go down to security and she says, "Hey, these two here, they don't have a contact." And while we were walking down the stairs, I was looking through my phone for the name of the guy who I should have remembered. So let's say it's like Frank Smith. So we get down there and she's like, "They don't have a contact name." And I said, "I just forgot it. You kind of startled me. It's Frank." And she's like, "Well, you didn't know it up there." So she says to the security guard, "You take care of them." And he says, "Well, I saw them come in, so I think they're okay." And I said, "Oh, you know what? Let's just call Frank and you can ask him." So I pick up my phone and I call the guy out in the van, right? And I'm like, "Hey, Frank, Mr. Smith, I need you to verify with security that we're supposed to be here." He catches on. So I hand him the phone, guy with a Jamaican accent. He says to them, "Yeah, this is Frank Smith. I'm sorry, I forgot to put them on the list. I should have done that." So the woman walks away. Security guard's like, "Okay, okay, what should I do now, sir?" And he's like, "They need to finish their audit, so let them do whatever they need to do." So he gives me the phone back. I'm like, "Yes, Mr. Smith. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, we'll finish shortly." He hang up the phone, and he's like, "So where do you need to go?" I'm like, "We need to go to the server room. Can we do that?" He's like, "Sure." So he takes me down the hallway, unbadges the door, and he goes, "Do I need to be here with you?" I'm like, "No, no, you can go back to the desk. It's fine. You keep the bank secure. We'll be in here." Just owned the whole thing.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So we're there maybe an hour. We exit the bank, and I'm like, "Let's just get the heck to the van and get the heck out of here." Right. Just totally owned the whole thing. Didn't get killed. That's one of our phrases we always says Ryan didn't die. And yeah, that's maybe one of the craziest stories I have.
That is unbelievable with the high stakes and everything too. But I'm not gonna lie, I can tell by the micro expressions that you quite enjoyed this job. I think I would.
Yeah.
It's quite the adventure as well.
Very good
So
pickup on that. Yes.
that's incredible. I want to pull a few things out of there of what exactly was in play, because it almost sounds like something out of a movie or something that's ridiculous or just good luck as you're going through. But even I picked up on a few things. So we had the pretext of all getting the information beforehand. You had the props that were involved. We also had a couple bit players. There was reading the person who is suspicious of you. Can you walk us through, in this particular scenario, what were some of the skills that you were deploying, and how is it that you were then able to navigate this human hacking to go directly to the server room?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's a really good question. So everything in social engineering starts with OSINT, and that stands for open source intelligence, right? So that's what we find on the internet. Like everyone does it, but we do it with intent. If you're going to a restaurant and you look up the reviews, that's OSINT, right? If your kid is about to go over someone's house, you look up their family to make sure they're safe. That's OSINT. But we do it looking for clues on what would be a trigger, an emotional trigger that would allow us to gain access to what we need to gain access to. In this case, that PCI audit was right hot on the heels. So we knew that was a good one to give us an excuse for being two white guys in a country that doesn't normally have a lot of the American people just walking around a bank. So we had to have something that would, now the brain goes, okay, yeah, this makes sense, right? Because we need to give the brain an excuse to excuse activity that looks a little suspicious.
Mhm.
So the first thing was a distraction. The guy talking to the security guard, he sees the shirt. He's not going to actually question us. He might have to ask us who's your contact here, but now he hears us talking on the phone, and he's just like, okay, yeah, they're here. They're already with someone. Let them go. Once we get upstairs, the walking, and this is called shoulder surfing. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's called tailgating. So when we tailgate into the ATM room, we're in there, and now we're in this very secure room, and we're saying to her PCI audit, oh yeah, okay, we already had some guys here. I get it. Okay, no problem. We're giving her an excuse to ignore these two strangers that shouldn't be in this room. And there's signs everywhere, like no unauthorized personnel, must have the proper security badge. Everything is in there. Like being inside of an ATM is one of the biggest dangers, because if you know the tech that they're using, I mean, think of this right now, and I'm sure all your listeners have heard of this, the skimmers. You go to a
Yep.
gas station or an ATM, you're supposed to jiggle the slot because there's skimmers that they have that you can put right over there that could steal all your info. If I know what kind of tech they're using in that ATM, I know what kind of skimmer to put on their ATMs. So, like being in there and taking pictures of inside that,
Yep.
massive threat, right? Then next, getting the password, it was by just kind of telling her with an authoritative tone with no threat, I need you to put your password in this computer. And she was like, why do I need to put mine? Oh, we're doing an audit. Please do it. And it was just very authoritative. I'm standing, she's sitting. It's a great education lesson, because it's like she was questioning me, but she didn't feel she had the authority enough to actually question me and say, like, I don't know if I should do this, right? Now, the first manager comes out, and we gave her the same excuse, and she walks away, but we saw her, and now we're reading body expressions, body language, facial expressions. And I can tell, I'm like, Ryan, she did not believe me. So she went back to the big manager, like, hey, these two guys, like, what's up with this? Do you know about this? And she starts looking through. No, we don't know. Now the big manager comes out. And she's like, okay, you're coming with me because you don't know the name. So she takes us to security. And this is where the main flaw happens. She takes us to security thinking, okay, they'll take care of it. So she feels safe now. I did my job. I brought them to security. But we had already owned the security guard by being seen before, right? And then having the phone call, he never spoke to Frank Smith in his life, the president of the bank. Like that security guard never had a conversation with him. So all he hears is another Jamaican voice saying he's Frank Smith and being like, "Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, I'll do it. I'll do this. Yeah, thank you, sir." And that's it. And then after that, when he's like, "Now what do I do?" Well, taking me to the server room, that's a request. The president just told you to take me wherever I need to go. So it's lot like the path to that breach is making sure we fill all the mental gaps of where questions would be and giving them answers that they don't have to then ask. Right. And that's basically like how you influence someone is when a target, I hate using that phrase, but when a target starts thinking, that's when you lose the ability to influence. Because as soon as I start questioning you, like, wait, this doesn't sound right. Or wait, Tell me more about that. Now I'm thinking, I'm critically thinking. But if I can fill all those gaps in before you ask questions, now I have your brain stuck in alpha mode. You're on autopilot, and bam, where you're just going to comply with anything I ask.
That's incredible. It's funny because there's two things that popped into my mind. One is it's kind of like the opposite of being on YouTube and doing the podcast thing, where my goal is to create as many curiosity, like open loops as possible.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're trying to avoid those at all costs, that everything just goes into autopilot and we just skirt by. And it's amazing how like the bit players and like, it's amazing how much even like, you'll see it in advertising, like the lab coat or the tech shirt can carry so much authority that people will just comply with it. I do want to add one other quick story because I realized I did this as a kid and I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. When I was maybe underage with friends and we'd want to go out and have a pint, I'd make sure that we'd dress nice, wear nice shoes, always wear nice shoes. And what we would do is we'd skirt in and go find a table where they hadn't bussed yet and grab an empty glass and go ask for a refill. And they wouldn't check us because we were showing up with the glass already. The pretext was, we're here hanging out, having a drink. I want to, so very much so, I believe in particularly in Bitcoin, the biggest security flaw is the human element, right? A lot of the tech and the tools are absolutely phenomenal. A lot of times I'll be having conversations with a client and they want no single point of failure. And always have to remind them that as long as you can move it, as long as you have access to it, you're the single point of failure. It's the responsibility that we necessarily have to deal with. So again, you've worked with government agencies, Fortune 500 companies. Are there any psychological tricks or common pretexts that almost work on everybody? They're kind of golden go-tos that people should be on the lookout for. I'm thinking like tech, janitor. I'm not sure if the authoritative sort of position works, but is there anything that's like, these are really commonly used for people that are malicious actors?
Yeah. So tech support is a big one, right? Because especially when it comes to cryptocurrency, just recently, and I was doing it just to see how far I can get. I got this LinkedIn message from somebody who, the name, I knew the guy. I knew who he was. He's a friend of mine. We haven't spoken in a couple years, but I know him. And he says, "Hey, I have this friend that's really interested in your industry. Can I introduce you to her?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." He's like, "Do you still use Signal?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's my number in case you lost it." He's like, "Great." So now he introduces me to this woman named Rachel. And she's a jewelry designer. Okay. And she moved into LA from Russia, and she just wants to learn about my industry, and she's very interested. Great conversations back and forth. Sends pictures, nothing illicit, sends pictures, sends videos, sends all sorts of things that prove that she's real. And now the conversation starts. I'm very interested in cryptocurrency, and I've made a lot of money investing in cryptocurrency. Would you want to learn how to do it? And I said, "Oh, I'm very interested in that. I don't know much about crypto, so I'm kind of a novice. You have to teach me everything." Next thing I know, I'm getting invited to a platform. This platform is a special platform that can help you make lots of money. Look, here's my bank account. I turned $1,000 into 300,000. All these, like everything that you know is about to happen. And all she wants me to do is, of course, invest in this one crypto on this platform that I can't find anywhere else in the world. Right. And all I got to do is give like, even just do $1,000 and you'll see the return. Okay. So $1,000, 5,000 comes back. What? So you see, if you gave me 50,000, you know what would happen? And you could see it clear what's happening. And then it's like, you obviously had not researched your mark, right? And I tell her, you have not researched your mark. And if you did, you would know what's about to happen right now. And then I went back, and this was the part that shocked me. I went back to my LinkedIn chats to the guy who I know, and that chat was now just LinkedIn user. And I'm like, oh, they went as far as actually spoofing his account. So this was a targeted attack against me. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's really interesting. But during that whole process, besides that, using people that you know, there was tech support involved. Like she said, if you have any questions, just click the support button on this platform. And there's people there 24/7 to answer questions. So of course I do. Hey, what is this platform? How does it work? Can I just do this through Coinbase? That's where I like to invest. Can I just do it through Coinbase, or do I have to do it? No, you have to use this platform. You can't do it through Coinbase. Yeah, all the benefits and profits come through this platform. You can't use other platforms. So there's tech support sounding legitimate, telling me all these things that I want to hear, and because they're using the language and they're looking for people who claim to be novices, right? Who claim to be, I don't know much about crypto. Why? Well, that's because now you can manipulate them easier. And I remember one guy here locally in Orlando, I got pinged by a news reporter who was asking, "Can you help this guy?" He lost 250K, and
Wow.
it was this exact scam. They said, "Look, we have Bitcoin was going through the roof. It was early, like mid COVID, when Bitcoin was just rushing to the 100s, right?" And it was he says, the guy said, "Just give me 5K," and within 3 days, I had 15,000 back. He's like, so that was a 300% return. I'm like, what the heck? This guy's like, here's all my money, 250,000, because he's like, if he could turn this into 1 million. All of a sudden, the guy's gone. Can't get him. Email account's dead. Everything's dead, and this guy's life savings is completely in the wind. We ended up tracking it to some group out in Nigeria, South Africa somewhere, and it was just a group that was doing this on mass accounts, just doing this to a ton of people. But they use these platforms that are going to make you instantly rich, tech support that sounds real, and then they follow it up with all of these. This woman has an account on LinkedIn that's years old, like her whole history's there. She's following other people, writing posts. I mean, they went through a lot of trouble to make sure that this whole thing looks as legitimate as possible. That's a lot of money in it. That's why.
Yeah, as I say, I think I remember hearing like hundreds of billions in terms of scams.
Yeah.
Like it's just an unfathomable amount of money that is stolen
Yeah.
from people every year.
CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The Tap Signer gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away. One company I like pointing people to when they ask about Bitcoin mining is Abundant Mines. They were founded by Bo and Christine Turner after losing over $500,000 to broken promises in the mining industry. And they built their hosting model to remove the usual headaches. With Abundant Mines, you own your machines and keep 100% of the Bitcoin you mine. There's no revenue share, no hidden skims. Pricing is simple. One flat monthly fee covers power, parts, labor, and repairs. They also guarantee uptime. If a machine goes down, their hash rate redirect system routes hash power from their fleet, so earnings don't just stop. And every machine is insured at full replacement value. Everything is hosted in the US, powered by Hydro, and mining equipment may qualify for 100% year one bonus depreciation. Learn more at abundantmines.com/sessions.
Stuck on your Bitcoin setup? Unlock expert guidance from top educators. Schedule a free chat at bitcoinmentor.io and get started hassle-free today. All right, let's jump back into the episode.
I'm curious too, because there's a few things that I want to pull apart. One was just basically, what is the most common motivation that we're seeing for these sort of scams right now? So I've seen like love scams. I've seen this kind of greed. It's funny because I'm surprised they actually do, like, they give them the 5K and they get the 15 back. It reminds me of something out of the movies where like you pretend to suck at pool just to hustle somebody.
Yes.
But that seems like a risky play. But I've seen love, greed, and then the fear as well too. What's kind of dominating currently the motivation that they're trying to attack on the target, if that makes sense?
So one of the big ones I see is FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Like when Bitcoin was just shooting up to 100K, people were legitimately making a lot of money. There was a lot of people becoming overnight millionaires. And those of us on the sidelines watching were like, I want a piece of that. So that was a big one. Second one is we see a lot of romance scams, ton of romance scams happening right now. So they're really targeting widowed and widowers, right? So people who've just lost mates, who have some money, they're on Facebook mostly saying, "Oh man, my husband of 40 years just passed away. Here's some pictures of our travels, and here's a yacht, here's a Ferrari, here's this." Oh, bam. Guy comes on and he's like, "Hey, I just saw your post. You don't know me. God bless you. I lost my wife 5 years ago. It does get easier. Just stay strong." Now, this complete stranger is telling this woman, and she's like, "Oh, wow, that's so nice of you. Thank you." And they just start chatting, and it's just innocent chat. Nothing turns sexual at all. Next thing you know, it goes from once a week to a couple times a day to all day they're chatting, to where now it's like, I want to come visit you, but I can't because I'm from this very poor country and visas are very expensive. And, I can't do it. I'll pay for the ticket. I'll pay for the visa. And of course, after $5, $6, $10,000 is sent, he's at the airport. He gets stopped by security. They took my visa. I must have filed it wrong. I'll save money and pay you back and I'll come. No, no, no. I want you to be here. I'll give you more money. Let's do the visa right. I had this one woman here. She lost $150K. And at the end of it, she believed that her kids were just trying to ruin her happiness. She believed that this person was real and that he loved her. And it's just so sad. On the backside of that, with our young people, we're seeing something called sextortion, and they're really targeting young men. What they do is they chat up as a young, attractive female, usually somewhere between 14, 16 years old, and they send a nude, right? And this is usually someone else they've extorted. And they say, hey, here's my pic. I want a pic of you. So guy sends that. They start sexting back and forth. Then, this is a terrible topic, but they ask the kid, I want to see you. So he takes a video of himself. As soon as he sends that video to them, then the guy reveals, I'm not a 15-year-old girl. I'm this dude from Africa or wherever, and now I have this video of you, and I'm going to give it to your parents. I'm going to post it on Facebook, or you're going to start taking money from your parents, crypto if they have it, whatever they have, you're going to start giving it to me. So the kids do. It starts off small, $100, $200. Then it starts getting larger and larger, and the kids are like, I don't want to do this. You have two ways. You either keep doing it or you kill yourself. And they actually suggest suicide.
Wow.
There have been hundreds of suicides across this country because of this right now. And these guys don't care. There's actually a guide on the dark web on how to do this, training people how to do this to other kids. Yeah, it's completely awful. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it because of how disgusting it is.
Unbelievably dark. It's basically just setting up a blackmail operation specifically targeting incredibly vulnerable young men.
Yes. Yeah, because the routine is men tend to not go for help. Right. So they know that, boy, we don't want to go to our parents and say, Mom, Dad, I took a picture of myself, sent it to this group, and now they're making me steal things. They don't want to go for help. So their pride, ego, whatever it is, keeps them. And I have a really good friend. He's actually a House representative in South Carolina. And he speaks about this because his son committed suicide because of this exact scam. And it's incredibly dark. It's horrible. But we see, and they'd take anything, credit cards, crypto, any type of coin, anything that you can give them that they can cash out and take. And they have operations. Like we're talking, like sometimes it's call centers of people just sitting in an office, like a day job, doing this nonstop. It's horrific. So those are some of the top ones that we're seeing happening and that people need to be aware of.
No, it's funny. Your story about the romance scam. I tried to assist with a situation that was almost identical. It was the daughter of someone who reached out that said, "Hey, I think my dad's being scammed." But at the end of the day, if I can't convince somebody that they're being scammed, right? There's nothing I can do to convince them that, like, hey, that person doesn't exist. And so the money's gone. There's no getting back. And I'm not even sure at this point in time if they're necessarily aware that they're still being scammed or what happened there. It's unbelievably frustrating. And I do want to talk, it's a bit of a darker topic, but we're going to get there a little bit later as well, too. So I want to talk about your work with the Innocent Lives Foundation as well. Because I would imagine just by the nature of your work, you're going to be in the dark areas of the internet from time to time. But continuing just briefly on the scam moment, I want to see if how large language models, how AI may have changed the social engineering landscape over the last couple of years. Because if I were to guess, I would say that most of the attack vectors are coming from phishing. So like your emails with links trying to get people involved and open up conversation, but probably wasn't as much of the vishing or the voice phishing. But that may be shifting. So I'm curious, Chris, the AI's impact on social engineering and the securities concerns we need to have now.
Two major ones. So first, we found a hacking group, a threat actor group out of the country of Georgia. They were using an AI-based software that took away their accents, and it made them sound American.
Ooh.
It was and I found it's a legitimate piece of software. They actually sell it for call centers who are out of the Philippines or other places where they want them to sound British or American. And it's a piece of software that sits on the phone system that takes away the accents. Well, the bad guys are now using it because we kind of been taught, you hear an Indian Microsoft support, probably a bad guy, right? Or, that Filipino call center, I don't know if I trust you, right? So we've been taught that, as terrible as that is to racially profile, but we kind of been beaten with that now they're like, well, we got to come up with something else.
Yep.
Second thing was I was at a conference in Spain last year, and there was 2 federal agents from Japan that were there, and they said that phishing was never an issue in Japan. Like, they rarely saw it. And they said that soon, and they remember that the year that ChatGPT went viral, that all of a sudden phishing went up 50%, and 100%, and 200%, 300%. They started to analyze, and what it was is that before, Russia was their main adversary, and their translation skills sucked. And now,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, and all of us know this, I can take any paragraph I want, put it into GPT and say, translate it to this language, and it's perfect. Perfect dialect. You send it to a person of that language, and they read it. It's like, whoa, do you speak this? I'm like, no, I just had to translate it, And those 2 things are the things that we're seeing AI. Now, the third one I'll give you is on the dark web. There is a tool called Fraud GPT. So they kind of hacked ChatGPT and took away all of the stoppers. For 1,800 euros a year, you can have access to this tool that writes phishing emails, actually writes malware, could hack websites just by telling it, go to this website, hack it, writes phishing campaigns, sends them, and then collects credentials. It can write Vishing scripts. It can write small bits of Trojans and ransomware and send them to targets. It's truly unbelievable now. You don't even have skill. I mean, when I started this back in the day, if you were going to hack someone, you had to have skill. And we used to call people who couldn't hack script kiddies. Like, you just
Yep.
DDoS things. You just write something small. Now, you don't have to have talent at all. You don't have to have skill. You just have to have 1,800 euros a year. That's it. And you can do anything. So we're seeing AI has taken the scam market and the threat actor market through the roof. And of course, crypto is a major part of that because it got very popular during COVID.
Yep.
And a lot of people who never even thought about investing in crypto became, crypto investors. So everyone's got a Coinbase wallet. So that became one of a major vector that we see.
And one of the downsides of that too, I always try to push that, like, the best thing you can do for your security in terms of Bitcoin is just information. Keep learning, right? It's when you're in a situation that you don't understand how it operates or what you have, that you're going to be vulnerable to somebody guiding you through basically one of those scripts and ultimately giving up your private key, giving up information, giving in your login to your account. What I found, I never even thought about it from that perspective, because I see tons of stuff online about like vibe coding and what people are building using, Grok and Claude and all these amazing tools. But I never even considered the fact that has the double-edged sword, that now you don't need any coding skills to build up malicious software. I'm curious then, because we are focusing mostly on the human element, but if we take a look at basically like Trojans, the kind of actual tools that people might be trying to use to gain access to a computer or device, what are the most common vectors someone's trying to get malicious software onto a device? What should you be looking out for? What kind of tools are people building using these AI models, and how are they getting it there?
So there's 2 main vectors and a third that we're seeing popping up. So first, of course, phishing is always going to be the biggest one, because phishing, you can send millions of emails with one click, and if you even get a 1% success ratio, it's still massive, right? So phishing will always be. But I saw an interesting report last year from the FBI that they have recently, in their research and threat actors, seen an 80% increase in spear phishing being based on the target's social media, which means that the threat actors are actually looking at you, looking at me, going to our LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever accounts, and they're saying, okay, what does this guy like? What does he tweet about? What does he talk about? And using that information in the phishing email. That's really interesting. The second one, which we're seeing massive increase in, is Vishing, voice phishing. You mentioned it before, but you look at last year, MGM, major breach, that was done through the phone.
What happened at MGM? I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh my gosh. So MGM, the Scattered Spider group called support, called the guy, said they were support and they needed help getting this program installed. Talked to this guy into downloading this EXE, installing it. It was ransomware. They owned the whole network, shut down everything. I mean, what we found is MGM's network was flat. So all of their casino machines were on the same network as their rooming and ATM. The hotel was shut down for 9 days. They lost 190 million, 120 million, something around there. And they wouldn't pay the ransom.
No.
So eventually they ended up paying half the ransom, and the hackers were like, we told you all of it or nothing. So they kept the money and still didn't turn it back on. And it was all one phone call. That's it, to get someone to install a piece of software. Clorox, same thing. They called their tech support. They got credentials given to them, logged into the network, hacked the living crap out of the whole company. We're just seeing the phone being used so much right now against hospitals, against healthcare networks, against manufacturing, major Fortune 500s, because we are so busy that if I get a phone call and my caller ID says, "Oh, it's my tech support," oh, I better answer this. I'm going to answer it.
Yeah.
And their spoofing is simple. Using the language, looking it up, and you have these companies that 5,000, 100,000 people in it. You don't know who the tech support is. You've never spoken to them. And if you did, it's a new guy. "Yeah, I just started last week, whatever."
Yeah.
The phone is a very, very powerful vector to get people to do things.
Do you think that, I'm kind of curious, do you think that's going to change and kind of evolve over time, kind of generationally? And what I kind of mean by that is, like, for me being an internet native generation, I remember getting dial up, maybe it was like 8 or something. I'm naturally distrusting of emails, right? I've lived through this, so I naturally don't trust emails, but phone was always the safe way as well too. Is it kind of getting to the point where we probably will start to have those kind of inbuilt mechanisms that, like, we just don't trust phone calls necessarily anymore because it's getting too frequent? Like, even now, I don't answer any call I don't recognize. I don't bother. If there's no voicemail, I don't pick it up. Additionally, just to kind of tee onto that, is there anything that you think that we can maybe use in order to combat these sort of things? So what I'm thinking of in particular is, how do we verify the identity of the person that we're talking to? And I have some ideas. In a world where they can imitate a voice, they know all the information, how do we trust at all or verify the person on the other end of the phone?
Okay, this is a series of really good questions, by the way. So yes to the generational thing, and we're seeing it. So they came up with a new attack vector, which is smishing, SMS phishing, right? Because the younger generation, they're just on their phone. So now they get a text message saying, "Hey, this is your bank and your login failed," or here's your code that you need to log in. So they're using smishing now to grab credentials or to gain access to someone's phone. Because if I can gain access to your phone, I don't know about you, but I do everything on my phone, right? Banking, credit card, crypto, everything's on my phone. You gain access to my device, I am screwed. So I work really hard to make sure that device is locked down, right? And the newest form of QR phishing is a big deal. I mean, COVID taught us something really interesting, is that we scan everything now, right? So this group of hackers, I mean, I hate to say it was genius, but it was. They went through New York City subway system, and where all these ads were, like, Subway $5 off coupon, or get this pizza for $10 off. They replaced the QR codes with their own QR codes that would be, download this app to get the coupon. And of course, they download the app because they're trusting it. It's right here in the subway in New York, right? Must be real. Download the app to get that pizza coupon. And of course, the app is now hacking their phone. And what people aren't reading and thinking is that when you're installing this app and it's just a coupon app, but it's saying, "I need access to your contacts. I need access to your files. I need access to your photos. I need access to sound and audio and pictures." And everyone's like, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." And it's just like, you just gave this app access to everything, right?
Yeah.
So I do think generationally, what we will see, and what we have seen, is the attack vectors will be very targeted towards a generation. Vishing still works on the generation before me, because business was always done on the phone, right? So my dad, my grandpa, those people, they're going to answer a phone call, right? They're not going to text message as much. But the generation, let's say younger than me, they're always on their devices, and social media is a big thing. So we're seeing a lot of LinkedIn spoofing, right? Where Instagram spoofing, things like that, where people are coming out with accounts that look like, I mean, I just saw this thing. This woman lost, what was it, 200K, because
Oh,
she
God.
thought she was chatting with Elon Musk and he was giving her an investment opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's like, the account was verified, had his picture, talked like him, and she just fell for it, right? It's just kind of crazy. So your last question was, what are the things that we can do? I loved what you said about verifying, because this is something I preached from the hilltops. Right now, there is no mechanism that is going to allow you to verify everything. So my rule of thumb is, I tell my kids, my wife, my friends, my family, if you can't verify, do not give over information. So someone calls me and I pick it up and they say they're from my bank and they want something that I shouldn't be giving, I'm going to call you back, and not on the number on the phone. I'm pulling my credit card out, tiling the back number, and I'm like, here we are. I'm going to call, take that number. And you do that every time. And if you don't have that, then don't give the information out. When my grandma was around, I would tell her, listen, someone calls you and says that the police, I've been arrested, they need $5,000 for bail. I said, here's a code word that you and I have. No one else knows this word. Let's just say it was unicorn, right? And I wrote it down on a sticky note and I put it next to her landline phone. And I said, Grandma, you never say this word. I'm the only one who ever says this word. So if someone calls saying they're me and they need money, they need help, you say, what's our code word? If I say I'm too drunk to remember, you say, when you sober up, call me back, and you hang up. And I'm like, and that saved her from getting hacked a few times because people would call, ask for money, and we had a verifying. I had that same system with my daughter. You have a code word. So if you ever call me and use this word, I know you're actually in trouble. But if someone calls me and said you've been kidnapped and they want ransom, I'm going to say, ask her for the code word. If they don't know it, I'm not going to trust it. So this is a very, very important word. You never forget it, and we never joke with it. We set up verification processes for things that we can. But if you can't, right, I don't have the ability to set up a verification process with my bank, right? So what I do is I call my bank and I say, hey, do you have a process for wire transfers? Can I give a code word or a password that wire transfers can't be done without this? Like, yes, great. Here is my code. And put it in the account. And no one should ever say this except me. So if someone calls with a wire transfer request, they have to have this word, right? And anyone that allows me, and we call this multi-factor authentication or MFA, I tell people set it up on everything you can. And don't say, oh, it's just my Netflix. Oh, it's just my Instagram. Set it up on everything. Because I'm telling you this, and this is still the case in 2026, 68% of the people surveyed say that they reuse the same password across multiple sites. So your bank's not getting hacked. I can tell you that right now, even a community bank. But Yahoo got hacked a couple years ago to the tune of 1 billion accounts. Now, if your Yahoo password was the same as your Instagram, as your bank, as your credit card, as your Coinbase, the hackers are going to go try all that right away. So if you have MFA set up on your accounts, they're not going to get past that password. But better yet, use a password manager and use MFA on everything and let that password manager make up the passwords for you as long as the account will let. And the only thing you have to remember is your password manager's password. And what I say is use a lyric from a song or use a sentence with spacings and punctuation. Use something that you'll remember that's not just a phrase, like, your favorite football team or something. Use something like, my daughter was born on this date, exclamation, exclamation. And you have it all written out. That's a very long sentence. You're going to remember it. It's going to take someone forever to hack that. And all you need to do is remember that. Let the password manager at MFA do the rest.
Very interesting. I have a few things I want to tease out there too, because I'm curious, and this goes beyond like my understanding of how password authentication is working on most, let's say, like modern servers. If I'm a hacker and I get into Yahoo, my thought process would be that the user's passwords would all be encrypted, and so I wouldn't necessarily be able to extract that information. But there has to be some way that it's verifying when it goes ahead and checks. So if like you get in the backdoor of Yahoo, could you possibly get all the users like both login and password credential?
So let's tell a sad story about a password manager named LastPass. Promised and swore that they were secure as heck. Someone hacked their back end and they found that a large majority of the passwords from a legacy system were all plain text, not encrypted. God. Plain text passwords for millions of accounts. And sadly, LastPass kept their mouth shut and they wouldn't tell you if your password was breached or not. So when that happened and I was using LastPass, we got rid of that account and I had to go change the thousands of accounts that were in my manager because I didn't know if I was one of the legacy accounts that had a non-encrypted password. So you're right, it should be encrypted. But let's think about McDonald's just got breached a few months ago, their employment database, like where you can go sign up to work, it had millions and millions and millions of people's names, social security, everything in there. The password was password.
No.
I'm not kidding. It was
password.
My God. 2025, and the password was password.
How many billions of dollars is McDonald's worth? Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people's social security numbers, date of births, address, phone numbers, everything about you. You put it on an employment application there, just sitting on a server with the password of password. So you're right. We should be seeing things, like you said, locked down, but we're not. We're not seeing it, right? The companies are still, and this is a little bit of a soapbox moment for me, so I won't go off too much. But just recently, the U.S. government actually held a CEO accountable of a company that got breached and fined the CEO personally. When you start doing that, now you're going to see security get taken seriously. As a CEO, if my money is being threatened, not my insurance carrier, not my company's money, right? Because, hey, well, Walt Disney was firing millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people, while the president was taking a $25 million bonus. So his money doesn't get hurt while these people are living in their cars, right? So you start finding the C-levels of these companies that made decisions to not be secure. I guarantee you're going to see that CISO and that CEO on that security team like white on rice saying, are we secure? Are we good? I need to know right now. We need to see more of that, because what they do is they hide behind their policies. You think about Yahoo getting breached. Let's go back even further. Target, when they got breached with their credit card systems, did people stop shopping at Target? No. Did people stop applying for jobs at McDonald's? No. Right? It happens because the companies are like, well, we're still in business. We're okay. You start finding those CEOs for bad security, and I guarantee you're going to see a change, because we're not seeing what you said. They should be encrypted, but sadly, many times it's poor security infrastructure and process that still makes it vulnerable.
I'm still absolutely blown away that the password was password. I can't get that out of the back of my mind because it's so absolutely ridiculous. And you're right. The people that made those decisions, that we're kind of like in a weird abstract where people don't necessarily realize the value that data has. They just give it away so freely. They're so open to just putting everything on Facebook and just posting and here's all my credentials.
Oh my gosh.
Realize how much value that information goes for, that the person that, especially if it's in situations where it's required, if they were required to collect personal information and they misheld the security of it, of course you should be liable for it, right? That's there. You've had somebody's data stolen and put them in potentially in harm's way. One thing I do want to throw on your radar, but I won't dive into it too much, is coming specifically from the Bitcoin world. If you haven't checked them out, I think I'd be awesome to have a conversation with you and Matt Hill and the team over at Start9. Their whole mission is sovereign computing. So it's self-hosted password manager, self-hosted files, right? To try and get away from the LastPass sort of issues. And then additionally, there's another tech that probably hasn't made it into your world yet, very popular in the Bitcoin space, called Nostr. Notes and other stuff over relays. But it has wonderful implications for identity, because it's just a private public key kind of setup. So you can think of it like the most common use case is like Twitter. It's like a social media experience, but you have to sign the post with your private key. So in terms of identity, I know that post came from at least the person who controls that key, right? So it gives us another way to maybe verify identity in the future. But enough about that. There are a lot more things I want to get to, and I don't want to make sure that I'm being conscientious of your time.
Yeah.
Chris, has there ever been a company that you were hired to do a security audit, right? A threat kind of assessment to get in there, that you couldn't, that their existing system actually stopped the best from getting through?
Oh boy. So I got hired to break into a nuclear facility once.
What?
And it was a week-long job. And
just a week?
Just a week. We had 5 days, both nighttime and daytime. And I was successful 6 times, but I got arrested 5 times that week. So I don't know if that counts, because we were still successful, but there was a couple wins on their part that were really excellent. Really, I mean, the first time I got arrested that week, this tiny female cop, I mean, she could have been over 5'3", rips me out of the truck that we were in, slams me on the hood, and had me cuffed before my face bounced off the hood. I was so impressed. I'm like, holy crap. I said, I've never been cuffed so fast. She's like, yeah, scum. And she tracks me over to this grassy area. She has me kneeling on the grass, and I'm like, this is where we get dead, right? Like, I don't know what's happening. And we always have a letter. We always have a letter in our pocket that explains why we're here. We call it the get out of jail free letter. So I'm kneeling on the grass. Ryan's next to me on the grass, and I'm like, look, we're pest control. I mean, go look in my truck. You can see that we have all the spraying cans and everything. She's like, I'm not looking in your truck, scum. And I'm like, I just need you to go look in the truck. You'll see. I mean, look at our shirts, say pest control. It's like, I don't care what your shirts say. So she goes, are you armed? And I'm like, no weapons. But I have this knife that I carry. Okay, this knife here. I carry this knife, and it's a switchblade, right? So nice. I carry this, and I don't look at it. Okay, great. And I don't look at this as a weapon. I look at this as a tool, right? I mean, so I when I said I wasn't armed, I said, no, I'm not armed. She grabbing things out of my pockets, and she holds this, and she's looking at it. And I'm like, oh, please don't point that at your face. She goes, why not? I'm like, it's a spring-loaded knife. She goes, you said you weren't armed, scum. And she kicks me, right? I'm laying on the ground like, oh. But I'm like, okay, this is going south. I'm like, hey, in my pocket, there's a letter that explains why we're here. So she leans down, she grabs a letter, she opens it up. My point of contact, Greg. She's like, Greg, that mother? And I'm like, yeah, Greg. I'm Greg, yeah. She's like, shut up, scum. And I'm like, but I'm not scum anymore. Like, you can see that I'm here, right? She's like, you're staying there until Greg gets it. When I knew, Greg was in the bushes video recording it. Like, you
Oh my God.
So, but they were very good. They handled themselves really well. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Actually, the second time we got caught was even funnier because you can't make this stuff up. We had done our OSINT on the facility and then we found that there was a facility they owned that was going to have a groundbreaking ceremony. So we called a week in advance and said we were from the local newspaper and we wanted to send 2 photographers out to the facility to gain access to take pictures of the groundbreaking ceremony. They said, sure, just bring their IDs, no problem. So we had some fake IDs made and all this stuff. And we used a real news station in the area. So we get out there, guys like, oh yeah, just go in here, they'll give you your badges. So we're like, this is it, we're winning. Like, this is awesome. We're going to be inside this facility. We're going to be inside with all these guards. Like, no one's going to care. We're going to have badges. We can run around and hack whatever we want. So we get in there, we give them our fake IDs, and the guys back there putting our information in. And there's one guard, which we didn't see. He texts the editor of that paper, who happens to be his cousin. And he says, hey,
Ooh.
pretty cool. Your photographer's here. And she goes, photographer, ? And he's like, yeah. And he snapped a picture of us, which we didn't see. And she goes, they don't work for me. I don't know who they are. So we don't know any of this is happening. Next thing I know, the door gets kicked open. 5 guys with AR-15s come out, slam us on the ground. What are you doing here? And I'm like, oh my God, there's a letter in my pocket, right? Like, I was just like, please don't shoot, like, take the letter. And right away they were like, oh, okay, this was an audit. We get it, But it was like, that was the second time where I'm like, you can't plan that stuff because we were winning. You can't know that guy behind the counter that happened to be on staff that day is related to the stinking woman who runs the editorial of the newspaper. Like, what? Like, so we got, that there's, I don't know if that's not, that obviously isn't a story related to their security, but they handled it quite well. Something really funny. Actually not really funny. It's ironic, but I laugh at it, is we had this Suburban that we rented because we had to drive through the desert and all this stuff. So at one point I pulled into the parking lot and we were taking pictures of the locks. And what I didn't know was we had a drone that we had flown over to take video, and they had spotted the drone, and we didn't know they spotted the drone. So I pull in, I'm taking pictures of locks, and I'm backing out, and the reverse camera comes up on the screen, and there's like 6 guys with guns running at the car saying, get out of the car. I put it in drive and I just floor it. And we pull out of the highway. We're running away. I'm fleeing to elude. I'm like, run. It's like, we're going to die, man. Okay. We get away with that. 2 weeks later, some German nationals fly into the same place and they have a meeting at this facility and they rent the same car.
Same car?
They pull into the parking lot and the guys from the security have their license plate on the thing. They come running out and they slam these guys on the ground. They cuff them. They arrest them. And they're like, well, what do we do? What do we do? My contact calls me and he's like, yeah, you just got some German nationals arrested. They're good. They're good. But we had to explain that car. Yeah, that's a good lesson for us. Maybe next time we need to include in the report all the assets that we use. So that way someone else doesn't get arrested for using the same car. Anyway, some stories from the field. Sorry.
Oh my God, no, that's phenomenal. And just a side note on the knife too, that knife that I carry was a gift from my one of my best friends who actually told me to get your book. It was the introduction to me learning. He was the same one who gave me that knife as a present. So I always carry it, and it's very, very dear to me. I do want to make sure that we do get a chance to cover. I want to pivot here, completely different change of mood. I want to talk a little bit about the Innocent Lives Foundation, Lives, my apologies. And what exactly you've set up there, how you've gotten into it, and what kind of work you guys are doing.
Yeah. Thank you for that, by the way. So we're going back maybe 10 years. I was doing a job, a social engineering job for a large organization, and part of it was an internal network scan. So once we get inside, they wanted us to scan the whole network and see what we could see, what we'd be able to pivot to. And I find this one guy late at night, his computer's on Tor. That's a dark web. So I asked the director, hey, is there any reason? Like, I know there's legitimate reasons. Maybe you have someone on Tor. He's like, not in that department. Can you tell us what he's doing? I'm like, I can't because he's on Tor, but I could install a keylogger. So we did. We installed a keylogger, and we found that this guy was flying to the Philippines. He was small children, recording it, and then trading those recordings from his work computer to the dark web with other people like him. And he wasn't doing it at home because he had his one shared computer with his wife, yada, yada. We set up a sting operation. That guy got arrested. He'll be in prison for 150 years.
Good.
And for me, and I know this sounds so naive, but when that happened back then, 10, 11 years ago, I thought this isn't a problem here. I thought this was a third world problem. Like, this is happening here. And I started doing research and finding that at that time, 60% of the world's child is produced in America.
No.
60%. Because we have so much freedom here. You'll see it. And I'm not encouraging anyone to go read reports, but you'll see someone who's been arrested for the murder of a toddler. They get 2.5 years in prison. They get 5 years in prison. They get 7 years in prison. That's it. It's a short term for these people that come out and do it again and again and again. And I went to my lawyer and I said, I want to do more of that. And he said, well, you got a lot of problems. He goes, because first, hunting those people means you're coming in contact with child, which is illegal, even if you're a good guy. Second is you can't be a vigilante. Those guys on the interweb who go out and get these guys to come to McDonald's and slap them around and humiliate them, law enforcement hates them because they're vigilantes. And those guys definitely get a walk because anything you have as proof gets thrown out of the gutter, right?
Can't use
and
it.
Third, you have to have law enforcement contacts. Otherwise, all of your leads mean nothing. You're doing this for nothing. So I'm like, ooh, thanks, Tim. I got to go figure this part out. So my first task, I was like, okay, how do we look into the predators without seeing bad stuff? So me and my buddy, we created a virtual machine that is basically a hacked version of Windows that doesn't cache anything, has an automatic blur tool built in, and it sits on unknown IPs in a cloud. So that means nobody on their computer is accessing the dark web. We're not saving any images, and you can't see any images because everything's blurred. Okay, problem number 1 solved. Problem number 2, we had to come up with a rule set that makes us non-vigilante. So we don't do undercover work. We don't make believe we're a 13-year-old girl on the internet. We don't do any of that. We literally go on the dark web, find people in forums that have already admitted to children or posting content, and we reverse who they are in the real web. And that's a lot of work. All right. Now, I sadly can't get into how we do that because that would then educate the predators. And then thirdly, I had to get law enforcement contacts. And that unbelievably was the hardest because as soon as you approach as a citizen, even for me, it was hard because you approach law enforcement as a citizen and they say, nah, we're not interested in working with vigilantes. So I had this case, a really sad case. A father who I knew, a friend of mine, called me and said, oh, my daughter was groomed and she sent some nude pictures over Instagram. Can you help me find out who this guy is? And I had taken over the account, done the research, found out who he was. And then I called my contact in the feds and I said, hey, I know you said you want to work with me, but I have a case and it's this guy and I have the actual identity. And I didn't do anything. You have all the records. And I handed everything over to him. They went and arrested this guy and they called me. They said, okay, we'll work with you. And I was like, whew. So once I got that, then I was able to build contacts with other major law enforcement in the U.S. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've been able to build law enforcement contacts in 23 other countries. So we now have a great network of law enforcement contacts. So our mission is to locate people who traffic children and create what's called CSAM. That's child sex abuse material. And when we find those people, we then geolocate them in the real world, wherever they are. And then we find a law enforcement contact in that area and we hand that person over with all of the steps we took. And it has to be legal because the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to ever have to testify because some of these people that we find are linked to cartels, linked to massive groups that I don't want my name attached to, right? So we tell people we have to make that law enforcement has to be able to reproduce every step that we do. So we got to give them step 1, step 2, step 3. They go redo our research, and once they prove it, they get a warrant, and the rest is done. I mean, just last week we had in where was it? In Brazil, we had somebody. They arrested this guy. Found 4 terabytes of
Oh my
material on his
God.
computer. 4 terabytes, and sadly, a lot of it was with his own children. But he'll be in prison for a very, very long time. So that's our mission. InnocentLivesFoundation.org. We do a lot of things there. Besides that, we actually have a lot of education for parents, for caregivers, for people who maybe don't know how to monitor their kids, don't know how to talk to their kids about this. There's a lot of info on there, how you can talk to your children about this, how you can bring this topic up. So, yeah, we have a lot of things there. We're a nonprofit, so legitimate 501c3. We have only 2 employees. Everyone else is a volunteer. And I'm not an employee. I'm a volunteer. So if anybody likes the mission and they want to donate, they can do that there at the InnocentLivesFoundation.org.
Beautiful. That's unbelievable, admirable work that you're doing, and critical work that you're doing as well too. It's nice to see the skills and tools that you've learned be put to such a, would you say, a moral mission as well too. Not that there's anything wrong with security.
No,
security.
I agree though.
It's like that's really meaningful. I would imagine for you.
When I can retire from my job, that's what I want to do full time. Right when I can retire, because it's like I love what I do for work, and you saw that on my face. But my passion project is that, because what I have found through 8 years, we've been doing this 8 years now, is not everybody can do it. And I get that. And I'm not saying there's weakness. It's just not everybody can do it. I have some really great friends that donate and help out, but they can't be part of the mission because their mental makeup is not allows them to manage that. And we've had some people that thought they were passionate. They came in, then they slipped on something that was horrific, and they need help. So we have a therapist on staff, right? Because we want everyone, we mandate therapy. If you work for us, you have to meet with her once a month, right? So we do this because we value that. So we tell people, listen, not everyone's made to do this. It's kind of like, I know I can't be a doctor because I do not like needles. I can't do it. So if you're a doctor and you can look at veins and blood and all that and not care, man, more power to you. That's not me. It's not my job, right? I can do this and still sleep at night. So, that's what I really want to do when I can retire, if that ever happens.
The time will come. And even just that point too, like I feel you in the sense, I had a good friend that was EMS or EMT, but he had to retire from that profession because there was a domestic situation he was called to, and he couldn't intervene, and he couldn't psychologically deal with that. Right.
Yeah.
The fact that he's like, I'm well aware what's going on here, but I can't do anything about it. And you got to know yourself. It's difficult work to go into those darker areas of humanity. And it's admirable that you and your team are able to do so and to actually help some people.
Thank you. Yeah. They're
with
amazing.
That, Chris, anyone who wants to support InnocentLives.org, correct?
InnocentLivesFoundation.org.
InnocentLivesFoundation.org. And for anyone that might like to work with you on the security front, check out the podcast, check out the book. Where can they go and find you? Where are all the best links and resources to point them towards?
Excellent. Thank you. So our podcast, which has been around since 2009, if you can believe that.
Wow. That's as old as Bitcoin.
It is, right? And you know what? I kick myself to this day. I remember
you
when
would have
Bitcoin
seen it
started.
Early. Yep.
And somebody came to me and like, dude, give me like a couple $100. I'll get you a bunch of these. And I'm like, no one's ever going to do anything with that. I kick myself to this day. I would be retired right now if I had done that, right? Anyhow, 2009 podcast is on social-engineer.org, but it's on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Tunes. It's on everything. So you can go listen to it there. We have 4 different episodes of the podcast. The origin, which is the human element, where I get someone interesting and we talk about that. Then we have the security awareness series, where someone else from my team and we talk about good tips to be secure. We have the Doctor is In series, which is I have this wonderful PhD that works with me, and she picks a scientific topic and we kind of dissect that for the month. And then the 4th Monday is with an Emmy award-winning reporter, and we kind of go over topics that just make your life better. So it could be something as silly as how to care for your animals, or something about, terrorism and sports events and things like that. We cover all sorts of topics, but that's on social-engineer.org. And then if you want to know anything about the work I do, it's social-engineer.com. I have a class coming up in February of this year called The Foundational Application of Social Engineering, and it's in Orlando. And it's basically, it's not just if you're in this field. this class covers like the basis of how to be a communicator from all levels. So I've had every type of people in this class. So if you're interested, just go to social-engineering.com. You can get info about it there.
Beautiful, Chris. Love it. We'll have to have you back on again. We didn't even touch really on micro expressions, or was it disk? And like, there's so much more to unpack. So we'll have to do it again. Thank you so much for stopping by, my friend.
Thank you.
Hey, you. Yes, you watching the Bitcoin price movements and the latest exciting news. It's awesome to stay informed, but the real power of Bitcoin comes from taking control. Don't just watch, take action. Head over to btcsessions.ca/learn for free step-by-step tutorials that guide you through every major skill you need to know, plus full video playlists for deeper dives on any topic you like. And if you're ready for the ultimate fast track, scroll to the bottom and check out bitcoinmentor.io for premium one-on-one experience with my team of Bitcoin experts to ensure you get it right the first time. Don't wait. Secure your Bitcoin future today. Hit the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen.
If you enjoyed this episode with Christopher Hadnagy, please do like and subscribe. It really does help out. And check out the previous episode with Joe Consorti on his 2026 macro outlook.